and you normally get the broadcasters in the front couple of rows and a couple of press agencies like the Associated Press, which traditionally gets the first question. So Caroline Leavitt, as we know, wanted to shake this up on behalf of Trump, who wants to get more alternative media, podcasters, and other different types of media into that press room.
Donald Trump's new press secretary has held the first White House briefing of the president's second term. Caroline Leavitt announced that influencers and social media stars could apply for passes to attend the briefings as part of a shakeup. Well, David Charter is the Times US assistant editor and joins me now. David, good evening.
Good evening from Washington, D.C.
Hello to you. Influencers in the briefing room, David Charter, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's great. Yeah, the problem with the briefing room is it's quite tiny. There's only 49 seats. That's 7 rows of 7. And they've been allocated to traditional news media outlets for time immemorial. And you normally get the broadcasters in the front couple of rows and a couple of press agencies like the Associated Press, which traditionally gets the first question. So Caroline Leavitt, as we know, wanted to shake this up on behalf of Trump, who wants to get more alternative media, podcasters, and other different types of media into that press room. So I didn't know whether they were going to try and shake up the seating plan, which would have caused obviously a bit of outrage with the traditional outlets. What they've done is they found a few seats along the side wall, 3 or 4 of them only at the moment, that will be for non-traditional media. So they've got Axios there, which is actually a fairly mainstream newswire type media, but also Breitbart, which is a pretty right-wing independent outlet that was once the home of Steve Bannon. And they got the second question. The Axios got the first question, Breitbart got the second question, and the horror of horrors, the Associated Press, which normally gets the first question, had to wait until third. But she did then come to the front row and ask a couple of questions, and then went to the back of the room where there was a couple of journalists who were very grateful and said that Biden's press secretary, had not Karine Jean-Pierre had not very often gone to the back of the room, despite people trying to attract her attention. And the control of the press room is very much in the hands of the press secretary once the briefing begins. They're the ones who gets to call on which person asks the next question. And I've never seen the room so jammed, actually. There was people 2 or 3 deep along the sides, because as I said, there's only 49 seats. There are quite a few of those who were along the sides did get questions this time. It's quite an interesting change.
It certainly is. It does mark a change, and I wonder whether the more traditional media will have their nose put out of joint, or whether they'll just have to get used to it. It's like that in many fields. You know, sport is becoming like that as well, where influencers play as big a part as some of the more traditional broadsheets and websites involved. It's been a big day for Donald Trump in terms of immigration. I mean, this is his executive order regarding the border and trying to get a hold on it, really, David. And I wonder where we are at with how Trump is getting along. He certainly seems to be working apace. This has been one of the big stories, really, of the first week of his presidency.
This came up at the briefing, of course, how the progress with the deportations. And Trump had given the impression, certainly as election day approached, that of the 11 million people who are, at least 11 million, who are in America illegally or have overstayed their visas, that makes them illegal as well, that he would, and his administration would target the violent ones, the ones with criminal records. But one of the questions that came from one of the more traditional media today were new figures showing that around half of those 1,000 or 1,200 or so scooped up in the last day for figures, I think it was Sunday or Monday, half of those did not have any criminal record at all. They simply didn't have the right paperwork, maybe they'd overstayed their visa. But Caroline Leavitt was very quick to point out that anybody who doesn't have a regular visa or a passport is in the country illegally and basically likely to be deported from America. And that was the message she wanted to get across, a very tough, uncompromising message.
Well, there you go. She's been described as Trump's gun-loving 27-year-old press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, already facing hard questions and shaking things up in the White House. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Always appreciate it. David Charter, the Times US assistant editor, thank you for being with us.
How are we? Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you. It is imperative that the Senate continues to confirm the remainder of the president's well-qualified nominees as quickly as possible. As you have seen during the past week, President Trump is hard at work fulfilling the promises that he made to the American people on the campaign trail. Since taking the oath of office, President Trump has taken more than 300 executive actions, secured nearly $1 trillion in U.S. investments, deported illegal alien rapists, gang members, and suspected terrorists from our homeland, and restored common sense to the federal government. President Trump declared a national emergency at our southern border to end the 4-year-long invasion of illegal aliens under the previous administration. Additionally, President Trump signed an executive order to end catch and release and finish construction of his effective border wall.
President Trump has taken, obviously, it's a stark contrast to the previous administration.
This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. It is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That is something that President Trump campaigned on. That's why he has launched DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, who is working alongside OMB. And that's why OMB sent out this memo last night, because the president signed an executive order directing OMB to do just this. And the reason for this is to ensure that every penny that is going out the door is not conflicting with the executive orders and actions that this president has taken. It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies.